How many of you have read Outlander? How many of you have seen Outlander? That's right. Until right now. Here's a little bit.
Hi, I'm Ron Moore, executive producer and your guide to all things Outlander. I'm here on the first day of shooting in lovely Scotland as we present Outlander Behind the Scenes.
Hello, New York
Comic-Con.
Madenva, I'm Sam Hewen.
And I'm Katrina Balfe.
And we're from the Starz original series of Outlander.
And we are very excited to be bringing these characters to life.
Yes, we are. We're sorry we can't be there. We're filming here in Bonnie, Scotland.
But we leave you in the very capable hands of Diana and Ron.
So enjoy the panel, and we're off to rehearse.
Yes.
Come on, CCNY.
Please welcome to the stage the creator, the woman behind it all, Diana Gabaldon. Please, did I murder that? I'm so sorry. I killed it, right? No, good. And a gentleman I've been a fan of for years and years, Ronald D. Moore. Thank you very much. Did I destroy your name? Come sit down, please. Come on, sit right here. Dude. Ronald fucking Moore. Okay. I'm thrilled to say that I had never read these books, and I was introduced to them just by the story, and same thing happened with Game of Thrones. Don't fucking judge me. And I'm now just swept away by it. So in taking this and putting, you rule. In taking this and Diana, and creating just this world, now bringing it to the screen, how involved were you in bringing the story to a visual medium?
Me? Okay. Basically, I said yes when Jim Colberg asked for an option, and everything kind of rolled uphill from there. Jim is our other executive co-producer who first took an option on my books with the idea of making a 2-hour feature film out of them. Several tries convinced him that this couldn't actually be done, and he then decided to try television, and Ron had been lying in wait for just such an opportunity. So Ron took it to Sony, who said, yeah, okay, let's do this. And in turn, it ended up with Starz in their capable hands. And so that's how we got to where we are now.
It looks absolutely gorgeous, just the photos. Now, the first photo from Outlander was shown on the web. And please indulge me, Sean O'Neill from the AV Club had this to say about the picture. I don't know if you've read this yet, Ron. But it says, Ronald D. Moore has begun shooting his new series Outlander, an adaptation of the novel about a World War II combat nurse who mysteriously finds herself in 18th century Scotland. But Moore should just wrap production, save Starz the money by handing in this set photo, which the networks could run in hour-long blocks every week, showing Moore's lustrous, windswept locks appearing in such close proximity to swords. This photo has already overthrown.
Right.
I'm sorry?
He is, of course, right.
He's completely and absolutely correct. What drew you to Outlander?
It was a great story. Good characters. My wife, Terry, and my producing partner, Meryl, and I were having dinner in Vancouver a few years ago and talking about, what next project could be after Battlestar and Caprica. And they both started talking about this book that they had read and didn't realize that they both loved it, and I had never read it, and they both just sort of insisted that I read this book. and I was just very taken with it. You know, I love history, I love historical fiction, so I was swept into the period. Great central character in Claire, really good story, well told. I liked all the twists and turns of the plot, and I just saw it, and I was like, I want to see the show, and I could see it as a television series. So it was an easy sale for me.
You're both very adept at it's the relationships and how they grow and change, regardless of the setting, regardless of how they got there throughout it. Is that something that first appealed to you when reading the book, Ron?
Definitely. You know, there's a great relationship at the heart of the entire franchise, really. You know, that Claire and Jamie, you know, are the only characters that really run through everything. And I was just very taken by the way that relationship was drawn in the first book and the way it developed. I like the fact that she took her time to develop it, that it wasn't a standard issue kind of romance sort of thing. I love the triangle through time. I thought that was kind of cool and intriguing. And I could just feel like those are scenes I want to write. Those are scenes that would be fun to shoot, and you could just kind of play the show in your head. You know.
Is there any kind of trepidation with working with the author, and conversely, was there trepidation of having your characters being written by someone else?
Well, you're always a little antsy about it, but I had seen a lot of Ron's work, and I very much appreciated the way he approached it. He and his production partner, Merrill, came out to my house and spent 2 days with me talking through the story, the storylines, the characters, the backstory, things that I knew that weren't necessarily in the book, and sharing with me his ideas about adaptation. And for instance, he said, we want to treat the material as faithfully as we can, but at the same time, you want to adapt it for a visual medium. So, for instance, you know where the story begins, of course, with Claire and Frank going into the Highlands. It says this is a fairly slow opening, and it works fine in a book because the language will pull you along. But we want something kind of more riveting, and I see Claire as the central character of the story. She's telling the story, it's her story. And so we need to see her immediately in a very vivid and convincing way. So I'd like to start with like a 2-minute prologue where we see her during World War II, you know, in a military hospital, you know, blood spurting, limbs hacking, and putting people back together. See, I see you all nodding. That's what I was doing. He was telling me, I was going, yeah, that's a great idea. So this is the sort of thing that convinced him that he would in fact be a responsible curator of the story.
Were you nervous, Ron, with talking with the author and
Sure,
having to
you don't know what that relationship's going to be. You don't know what the expectation levels are, but you know, it was a great weekend and it was an easy conversation. And I knew going in that I did want to do a very faithful adaptation of it, so I knew that was probably going to be received well. And it was pretty simple after that to just talk in story terms and okay, what about this and that? And there were things that we wanted to know. You know, things that were in her head, what certain backstories were, had you ever thought about this aspect of it, and could we have something over here happening? And I mean, our general philosophy on the show in the writer's room is we always start with the book version of any event or any scene, and then you kind of see how it lays out, and sometimes you have to adapt or switch things around just to make the episodic structure work. Or if we're adding something, we usually add something that's either implied by the material, like the World War II field hospital scene, or something that could have been happening simultaneously, and you know, to kind of fill out an episode or give you a different point of view on something. But we're always sort of tacking back into where the book takes you. So you're always staying in the lane. You're never really just, oh, okay, now we're just going to reinvent the story, because it doesn't need to be reinvented.
How familiar were you with that actual history of Scotland during that time period?
Not very. I mean, I love history, but that was not a period that I was that familiar with. So when I was reading it the first time, I was sort of enjoying the fact that I was learning a lot about Scotland in the period, and it was just kind of fascinating.
It's always my favorite thing when you're reading something and then you find a fact and then people just they think you're smart. And you're like, no, I read this in a book or a comic, and yeah, I am smart, you know. Now, Ron, you have a photo presentation?
Oh yeah, we've got some things here to show you. They're more concept art really than direct photos.
We'll take it.
If my remote works.
By the way, there's some great models of set pieces upstairs. If you haven't seen them, please go up and do it. They're phenomenal.
This is concept art for Castle Leoch. A thing that we've added into the show that is not in the book is a change in that, if those of you who know the book series, Claire and Frank are in the Scottish Highlands on sort of a second honeymoon, reuniting after the war. And Frank's taking her around and showing her things, and he's also there researching his own genealogy. And one of the things we did in the show was I thought it would be interesting if they actually went to the ruin of Castle Leoch early, so that later when she's actually goes to Leek, she's been there, she's walked through the halls, and she's seen the place. So this is going to be, this is a rendering of the actual castle that we're going to use, Castle Doune, in Scotland. And so for the section in 1945 when they go, we will digitally erase big chunks of the actual castle and sort of give it this feeling to it. And then it'll look like this, or a version of this in the 18th century. So that's, again, that's the real castle in the background as it actually is today. And then the foreground elements are all, this is all just concept art. None of this is photography, obviously. This is the courtyard of Leek. And there's another sort of angle on it as sort of in the plan. We haven't started shooting at Leek yet, obviously. Not obviously, I guess. We just started shooting this week. We started shooting on Monday. And the very first scene we shot was the World War II field hospital. And this week we've been working our way through the 1940s. This is concept art for surgery, where Claire, this is her home. This is where she works in Castle Leek. Again, this is artist concept art, but it's going to be very similar to this. The set is almost complete on the stages now. It's an interior set that we're going to build on. We have two very large sound stages in Scotland that we're building most of the interiors on. Something like this, you could theoretically shoot a location at a real castle. However, the castles themselves are historic monuments, and it's very difficult to shoot interior there because you have lights, you have equipment. There's a lot of restrictions on what you can and cannot do. It's a lot easier for us to build this and have complete control over the set than it is to try to shoot it at an actual castle. This is another angle on the surgery, or the apothecary shop, as we tend to call it. And then this is the stable, where there's many scenes with Claire and Jamie meeting out by the stables. There is a very large pasture where the photograph that this was originally is in a big open green field, and you can really actually see the castle in the distance. So we're going to play it, the actual relationship between the two. This is another angle on the stable. This has gone through some modifications since it's going to be a little bit bigger than this drawing in actuality. This is Lollybrook. This is Jamie's ancestral home. It doesn't look like it, but this is actually concept art as well, because there's an actual structure there. That gate is about half complete. It's a bit of a ruin sitting on another estate. There's no interior floors to this building, so we'll be having to construct the interior on the sound stages as well. This is a different angle, sort of on the other side of that gate, also showing you Lollybrook. That's what we have to show you so far.
That's amazing. Diana, what was it like seeing images that you created and scenes you put together as these concepts for the first time?
Yeah, no, I think they're fabulous. They're very close to the actuality, I say, the actuality in my head, and they're certainly close enough.
Let's turn it over now. I know you've been dying to ask. We got some questions. She's right here. He's right here. Questions about Outlander, what they can talk about. We're not sure. Remember, they just started shooting last week, so give them a little bit of a break, okay? All right, let's start with you. You dove right up.
I'm excited by looking at the script pages upstairs that it looks really close to the book so far. That's awesome. So
I don't think her mic is.
I think her mic got turned off.
well, I'm just going to talk louder.
Do talk loud. You saw the script pages upstairs, and it's really close to the book.
Yes. So, I want to know, what are you really excited to see come to life that's going to look pretty much like it left off the pages to us? Both of you, please answer.
There's your mic. What did you want to know? What are you excited to see from the page to the screen? First thing that pops up.
The wedding night, I expect.
Oh, we cut that, you know that.
That's okay, they'll imagine it. Yes, no, I was privileged to see the audition tapes for a couple of the actors, and I happened to see the conversation that followed, shall we say, during the wedding night, and was very impressed by that. So I'd like to see what came before it.
Very cool. Thank you. This gentleman over here.
My wife has read the Outlander book about 1 million times. I'm starting to worry she's going to leave me for this fictional character, Jamie.
Should be.
How true will the book stay, or the TV show stay to the book?
Very true. You know, it's very important to us on the show. It's important to Starz. You know, one of the things I really liked and respected when we sold the show to Starz was that the president of the network, Chris Albrecht himself, read the book, loved it, and said to me, you know what, make this show for the fans of the book. Trust the material works really well, and trust that anybody who hasn't read the books will be swept along with the story just like everyone else. And nobody says that. You know, in my business, basically, studios and networks buy books and say, well, we bought it for the cover, and you know, you do what you will with whatever's inside. But it mattered to them, and it matters to us, and we try very hard to sort of deliver, to realize what the book is. My job is not to reinterpret the book, it's not to make a new version of Outlander, it's to say, okay, I'm going to try to take this material and make a television show out of it and make a faithful television show out of it as best I can. And we do change some things, we do move things around every once in a while, but it's in the spirit of feeling like, well, we kind of have to do that, or this is a good way to go about it, but we're always trying to do, you know, the best version of the book.
Thanks, Diana. My wife, Robin from Nova Scotia, loves you.
Young lady right here.
I don't necessarily have a question about the show because I've been following it from the beginning, from the casting, from it being put together. My question for both of you is, well, for Diana, I know she's very gracious with her fans, Twitter, Facebook, CompuServe. How has your fandom maybe changed since the TV show was announced?
A lot more of you.
And for Ron, have you been affected by the fandom? I mean, just when Sam was cast, you just went.
I live with a fan. You know, my wife is a huge fan of these books, and you know, my job is not to screw up her book. So. So yeah, believe me, I hear a lot about the fan perspective on the series.
But you've had experience with that, with taking something, interpreting it, you know, that had a big fan following before you got involved. You know.
You mean Galactica? You mean
Maybe.
Trek? Or,
Maybe.
yeah, I mean, you know, well, Galactica was a different thing, you know, and I'm very upfront that I take a different tack on Galactica versus Outlander. Galactica, I went in and I decided I was going to reinvent it. And it's like, okay, I'm going to keep what works of this, and I'm going to discard what doesn't, and I'm going to do a different version of it. And that's not my job on this particular show. So there were two very different sort of jobs.
Well, I enjoyed your reboot of Battlestar Galactica, and I have no doubt whatsoever that you are going to bring Outlander to life. That, if not everyone, the majority of the Outlander fans will enjoy.
His wife will kick him out.
That's right.
He's fun. I'm with you. Yes, ma'am.
Has she seen it? Anything that you've done? Like has she read the whole script for the year? That wasn't my question, by the way. I'm just curious.
Oh, well, yes, actually, I was privileged to read the first 6 scripts. I was very impressed. Yeah.
I meant his wife.
No,
Let me tell you something. My wife is the co-costume designer on this show, so yes, she reads. I hear a lot about Outlander,
Yeah.
day and night.
My question was actually sort of a second part to his, which was, are you going to be able to get the whole of the book in the single season?
We have 16 episodes, 16 hours, and yeah, we're doing the whole book.
And so season 2 will be book 2, right? And season 3 will be book
Well,
yeah.
I hope I have those problems to solve, but yeah.
Fantastic. Yes, sir.
Hi there. For being a fellow Scotsman like myself, I guess it must have been bad for filling for the weather and stuff like that when you were over there.
yeah.
Was it really bad, was it?
A lot of bad weather, yeah.
Yeah. And also I've noticed as well that you've actually got a sound one just about a block away from where I work in Cumbernauld.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, very
Any
good.
chance of a set visit at all?
Yeah, okay, glad to hear it. Yeah.
I mean, do you want a lunch break or something?
No?
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. Like, that's like the hardcore fan right there. It's like, oh no, I'm from there.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't fuck it up, you know? Wow. Yes, ma'am.
Wow, it's really hard to follow that. But I was just wondering, you were saying how you were having Claire be the main character, obviously, but I was wondering how in-depth are you going to try to go with the other characters, specifically like Black Jack Randall, like that kind of thing?
Well, we're maintaining the first-person narrative of it, so the whole story is told from Claire's point of view. So you're meeting these other characters through her eyes, and there's probably more Blackjack in the series than there is in the book, only in sense of there are scenes in the book that might take up a half a page or a page, but are very memorable, and you're like, wow, I can't wait to see that scene. But we kind of expanded that into, you know, a longer period of time, and okay, let's take this scene and let's make a bigger thing out of it and give Blackjack more to do, because it's a great moment in the story, and let's milk it and let's really play it out and really watch the dynamics go on. So there's more opportunity to do things like that with the other characters, where you can take existing scenes or moments and kind of expand them a little bit. But we're not cutting to sort of his point of view. We don't cut over to Blackjack's story, for instance, as a B story or a runner or something, because you're staying with Claire on her journey in year one.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm very much looking forward to Written in My Own Heart's Blood. I'm counting down the days. In regards to that, that's the 8th book. How many more books do you have in store, do you think?
Well, I don't know. When I wrote Outlander, I gave it to my agent, and I said, well, I can tell there's more to this story, but I thought I should stop while I could still lift it. And he told that to the publishers, who said, well, trilogies are very popular. Do you think she could write 3? Being a good agent, he said, oh, I'm sure she could. So they gave me a 3-book contract. Now, I never said it was a trilogy. I said there's more. So actually, I don't know. This isn't the last book, if that's what you're asking. There is more after that.
Yes. Thank you.
Good question.
Oh. First, I just wanted to say hi, Diana. The previous question kind of answered what my question was. Since you said the first scene is going to differ from what the book actually is, and it's going to be in the 20th century, I was wondering if we were going to see maybe more of Frank in the 20th century after Claire's gone.
We're going to do some flashbacks from Claire, where you'll see more of their relationship and sort of their marriage, you know, in the 1930s and 40s, which I thought was important because I want the audience to connect with the idea that why she's trying to get back. You know, everyone's going to want her to stay with Jamie, who's watching the show. I mean, everyone's going, stay with Jamie! But as a character, Claire is very driven to get back, and she has somebody back there that she cares about. So, and as a result, in the show, like Diana was saying, visually, you want to see him, so you will see more of Frank.
Well,
you know.
there are some of us who are interested in Frank from, you know, like what Frank knew, when he knew it, and what he did with it.
This, believe me.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to do you, and then we're going to wrap this up, everybody. Thanks for hanging with us. Yes, ma'am.
Hi. I'm a relatively new fan of Outlander. My friend in England has read every single one of your books, and she got me to read it, and I just love it so much. I know this is kind of a difficult question for you guys to answer right now, but do you ever think maybe someday down the road there might be like a Lord John spin-off?
Well, I'd love to see something like that, a Lord John spin-off, yeah. No, Lord John's what I call a mushroom, one of those characters that just pops up out of nowhere and walks off with whatever scene he's in. So he talks to me very easily. Yeah, I'd love to see him in his own show.
Because he's a fun guy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
He'd have a lot of fun with you.
Right over here.
Hard to top that comment. Even though it's Claire's story, I don't think a woman reads this book and doesn't fall in love with Jamie Fraser. So my question to you is, are we going to fall in love with Jamie Fraser?
From what I've seen, yeah.
He's all that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
No, as I say, I saw some of the audition tapes, and they called me while I was on the road to tell me that they thought they'd found their Jamie, and they were sending me the links to the audition. And I said, oh, great. So I was Googling Sam Heughan on my iPhone while my husband drove, and I was looking at his IMDb photos and going, you're kidding. I said, they said, we want a guy who could believably be a 22-year-old virgin. And I said, yes, I buy him as a 22-year-old virgin. I said, he doesn't look like he has hair on his backside, let alone the dangly bits. And anyway, so I went to look at the audition that night, sort of, through my fingers, and 5 seconds into it, I was thinking, he doesn't look anything like his photos, he looks really good. 5 seconds later, he was gone, and it was just Jamie Fraser right there. I was just staggered.
Thank you.
What a beautiful way to end this. Please thank Ron and Diana. If you weren't excited for Outlander now or before, oh, you are psyched now. Thank you very much for joining us at the Starz panel. Have a great New York Comic Con.